Welcome back to our channel, Chronicles of Strange History. This video is about the Rendlesham Forest incident. In the forest of Rendlesham in Suffolk County, England, something unusual happened between December 1980 and January 1981. Military personnel stationed at RAF Woodbridge witnessed strange lights descending into the forest, and some even reported being abducted by extraterrestrials. Over the course of several evenings, these witnesses claimed that they saw strange lights hovering above the forest before disappearing into its depths. On one occasion, a patrol sent out to investigate these lights came across a crashed craft and several humanoid figures. Each time it descended into the trees, a large circle of light would remain around where it vanished. Several reports of UFO sightings began pouring in from surrounding towns and villages. But each time the Air Force sent out a patrol, they found nothing. Just as the previous night, the searchlight suddenly swept across the sky and illuminated the forest. All the men stared in amazement as a brilliant, white disc-shaped object slowly descended from the sky and landed in the clearing. After reviewing the photos, Jim noticed something disturbing. One of the photographs clearly showed a disc-like object resting on the ground, surrounded by the men who had discovered it. When the photo was taken, the men assumed it was a manhole cover. But upon closer inspection, it didn't match any nearby manholes. Furthermore, there should not have been a manhole in the middle of a clearing in the forest. The photo was taken near the base of a large oak tree and depicted a series of mysterious geometric symbols etched into the bark. According to Nick, such markings are often associated with alien spacecraft and serve as a form of communication with extraterrestrial beings. This theory seems plausible, given that the military has a history of covering up UFO-related incidents. Do you believe that the men were abducted by aliens? Or do you think that there is another explanation for what happened in Rendlesham Forest? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. But if the men were really abducted, then where are they now? The answer may lie with the men themselves. But after all these years, will they ever come forward and share what they experienced in Rendlesham Forest? Another strange feature of the photo is that the tree itself appears to be pulsating or glowing. Nick believes that this is further evidence of extraterrestrial activity in the area. The object was approximately 25 feet wide and hovered silently above the ground. In 1981, the Ministry of Defense stated that they had no record of any servicemen going missing on that night. But if there were none, then why did the military bring Jim and his friend to an undisclosed location for questioning? And what were they doing there in the first place? Perhaps they were merely curious about the strange lights and decided to investigate. But if so, why would they need to question Jim and his friend? It makes no sense unless the military were trying to find out who had gone missing. This time, they brought along cameras equipped with flashbulbs. While taking photos, Jim noticed something odd in the distance. What appeared to be a searchlight was sweeping across the sky. As it moved closer, he realized that it was in fact another Air Force patrol searching for the elusive object. Suddenly, the light stopped and focused directly on the pair. Startled, they dropped to their knees and covered their heads. The beam remained fixed on them for several seconds before disappearing. Moments later, they heard the sound of voices and footsteps approaching them. As they slowly stood up, they saw a group of armed Air Force personnel standing over them. The men ordered Jim and his friend to walk behind them towards their vehicles. Once in the truck, they were driven to an undisclosed location and questioned separately. The military wanted to know everything that they had seen and what photos they had taken. After the questioning, they were released and told to keep the incident a secret. If anyone asked, they were to state that they had seen nothing. No sooner than it had appeared. However, the object shot back into the sky and vanished. However, Jim never forgot. In 2001, he decided to come forward and tell his story. By that time, the original photographs had been lost. But Jim had taken new photos of the site in 1991. These new photos were much higher quality and helped to renew interest in the case. Jim would later describe the experience as being similar to watching a jumbo jet take off from a small airstrip. Some of the military personnel who ventured into the woods that night were never seen again. At around 3:30 a.m., an airman stationed at the base saw the orange light appear again. He grabbed his camera and managed to snap a photo before the light disappeared into the trees. He then called his friend, Jim Peniston, who worked in the base security office, to inform him of the sighting. Approximately 15 minutes later, Jim grabbed his camera and headed out to try and photograph the object. As he drove through the nearby village of Bentwaters, he saw the light again. He stopped his car and took a picture of it before driving to the forest. Officially, the government stated that there was no record of any missing persons that night. But if there were none, then what did the military do with those men? He shone his torch down the center of them and estimated that the prints were made by someone or something wearing size 12 boots. The tracks led away from the clearing and disappeared after 40 yards. In the center of the clearing, Jim and the others found more tracks leading in a circular pattern around a large boulder. Near the boulder, they also found a depression in the ground, which looked like a perfect landing spot for a small aircraft. There were also 3 sets of parallel grooves in the mud approximately 6 inches apart and running parallel to the boulder. Unfortunately, the men were unable to collect any physical evidence due to the soft, muddy conditions. Anything that could have been recovered would have simply dissolved. We've heard about this story before, but this time we'll be taking a look at some new details regarding the case and even an update from one of the main witnesses. The first sighting occurred on the evening of December, when several servicemen from RAF Woodbridge were outside the base and noticed a bright orange light hovering above Rendlesham Forest. A security patrol was quickly organized, but by the time they arrived, the object had vanished. It wouldn't be seen again until 2 days later on the night of December. At approximately 7:15 p.m., several airmen were again gathered outside the base when they saw the orange glow return. This time they were prepared and armed with firearms in case it turned out to be a threat. They split up into 2 patrols and headed toward the forest. However, once inside, the forest became pitch black. Their torches weren't working and they were forced to turn back. Shortly thereafter, a searchlight swept across the sky and illuminated the entire forest. The men watched in amazement as a brilliant white light descended slowly from the sky. Upon reaching the tree line, it vanished. The men stood in stunned silence until their sergeant yelled at them to get a move on, and they returned to the base. Throughout the rest of December, the men would witness the light appear again. Then, on New Year's Eve, something remarkable happened. Upon arriving, Jim parked his vehicle and joined the other men who were standing by the tree line. Jim then noticed footprints in the soft mud near the edge of the clearing. The next morning, a photographer from the local newspaper arrived and took pictures of the site, though these photos were of poor quality. Jim and his friend decided to visit the site again on January 3rd. As the years passed, many people began to forget about the incident, especially after the Ministry of Defense officially declared that there was no record of any missing persons that night. One of these photos in particular drew the attention of Nick Pope, a former official with the National Investigation Committee on Aerial Phenomena. As for the missing men, well, officially, there were none. Some believe that the men who entered the forest that night willingly walked into the clutches of an alien abduction team. For more information, please subscribe our channel for more interesting events from the past. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.